This video is going to be a review of this Coospo H9Z or H9Z heart rate monitor strap. Now, I was sort of recommended this by Yakko of Yakko Rides Again. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. The headline features of this are, firstly, that it's relatively cheap, and I'll tell you about the price later. And secondly, that the unit itself isn't powered by a coin cell, it's rechargeable. Before we start looking at this one, let's look at some of my previous heart rate monitor straps. So I used this heart rate monitor up until about 2 years ago. I think I got this from Amazon and it only cost me about £10. It's branded Sunding, which I haven't heard of before. This, like most, is powered by a coin cell that's held in the back there. The main unit here is not easily detachable from this strap, so you can't detach that in order to wash the strap. Having said that, this is actually quite a nice strap on here. It was quite comfortable. The reason I stopped using this was just one day it stopped working, so I had to get another one. This was the next unit I purchased. It's a Power Labs heart rate monitor, and the main electronic unit is detachable from the strap, and it's attached by these poppers, which are typically used by Garmin. Similar to the last one, this has a coin cell in the back. So that attaches to there, and that's nice because this is actually quite a good strap. In fact, it's actually a Garmin strap, and I'll show you the Garmin unit this came off in a minute. This unit still works, but the problem is that it won't automatically power off when I remove it from my body. That means when I take it off and I put it away, the battery can end up going flat. When I come to use it next, battery's flat and I end up riding without a functioning heart rate monitor. Now, I have partly got around that by each time I put it away, just unpoppering one of those poppers. That works, but I don't always remember, and I can end up with a flat battery and no heart rate monitor. So I decided to replace this one with that Coospo unit. Now you may say, the problem you have is you keep buying cheap heart rate monitor straps. Well, this is one that I used for quite a few years before I bought that Sunding one. This is actually a Garmin unit, and it used to be connected to this strap that the Power Labs one is now on. Like most of the others, it has a coin cell in the back, but unlike the others, the coin cell is accessed by 4 little screws. Unfortunately, after a while, those screws broke, which meant the back of this wouldn't close up properly. That let water and sweat in, and eventually the unit failed because the electronics inside corroded. So the unreliability isn't just limited to my cheaper straps. Right then, let's look in the box of that Coospo heart rate monitor. So this is the box the Coospo came in, and on the back it has some specification, and it says it's a chest type with a rechargeable design, and it'll work for up to 50 hours on each charge. That's much longer than I normally require. It's got a 5-color LED heart rate zone feature. I'll talk a bit more about that in the future. You can connect 2 Bluetooth connections to this and multiple ANT broadcasts. So if I wanted to connect it to my phone and my Garmin and my e-bike, I could do that. It beeps to tell you it's turning on or turning off. And like most, it's compatible with most fitness apps and units. So it would seem we have a strap, again with those double poppers on. We have a user manual. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And inside here we have the heart rate monitor unit itself and a USB-C charging cable. Now this is quite interesting in that this electronic component here, this is the rechargeable part, comes with a little charging cradle. It would have been nice to be able to plug the USB-C cable directly into here. You have this little cradle that's powered by USB-C, and that then clips on the top there. Now that's quite nice in a way, in that this unit can be quite sealed. There are no openings, so sweat and water shouldn't be able to get in. It also makes it a little bit smaller. The inconvenient part is, if you wanted to take this away with you, let's say on a longer holiday, you have to make sure you took this charging cradle with you. The strap is fairly standard. It has some electronic contacts on the back. Again, as I say, these two poppers, and that connects on there like that. This strap feels and looks very much like the Garmin one, so I don't expect any problems with that. Right then, I'll charge this up now and I'll see how well it works. Let's unclip it. This is USB-C, which is nice, so fairly standard. And now I'll plug this in like that. And as you can see, the green light comes on and it flashes, which indicates it's charging. Once it's fully charged, that should stop flashing. It says here this unit takes about 1.5 hours to recharge. The user manual is quite small and it comes in both Chinese and English. It's all fairly straightforward. It talks about these heart rate zones here and talks about how you charge it. Like most things these days, this unit can also be connected to an app. I'm probably not going to download the app, as I don't really see the need for it. So now this unit is adequately charged, I can put the cradle to one side and connect it to the strap. These poppers can be quite tight. Now I've wet my fingers and I should be able to activate this just by touching the back. There we are. If you hear that beep, that means it turned on. And as you can see, the unit is flashing. I've got 5 different heart rate zones that I can program into this and have a different color for each heart rate zone. Okay, if I let go of that now, it should turn itself off. There we are. If you heard those bleeps, that means that the unit has turned itself off. Those bleeps turning on and turning off are actually quite useful. However, these lights will be somewhat less than useful, because most of the time this is going to be under my jersey, so we can't see the lights anyway. It'll also be out of my line of vision, so I won't be able to see them flashing or what color they're flashing. In addition, this will almost certainly be connected to a heart rate monitor display on my Garmin unit, so I can just look at the Garmin unit in order to determine what my heart rate is. So this little flashing light here, as far as I'm concerned, is a sort of redundant feature. I would much rather have them saved a little bit of cost on that, and more importantly, saved a little bit of energy so that the internal battery would last a bit longer. So I'm going to try and connect this to my Edge unit here. This is an Edge 1030. So if I pull down from the top, I get the sensors here. So if I select that, these are the listed sensors. I need to add a sensor, and its heart rate, something showing up. Add, it says it's found, and there it is at the top there. So if I go back to the home screen, I can see my heart rate here, currently 61 beats per minute. You can connect the heart rate monitor using ANT+ or Bluetooth. I would suggest using Bluetooth, as this will allow you to interrogate the state of the battery. There's a video in the top right that shows you how to do this. I'll test this out on the road and we'll see how well this heart rate monitor works. In terms of the size of this unit, it's probably no bigger or smaller than any other unit out there. Certainly it's about the same size as this Garmin one from several years ago. I'll put on the strap to see how comfortable it is and go out for a ride to see how well it works.
I've now been riding with this chest strap for around about 3 hours, and though I probably put it on a little bit tight, I could loosen it a bit because I can just feel it pressing on my rib cage a little bit. It's not uncomfortable. I can't see comfort is going to be a problem whatsoever.
Despite what I said earlier about not downloading the Coospo app, I decided to download it as it's the only way I can test some of the functionality of the heart rate monitor strap. So this is the app. If I select more at the bottom, I can select sensors, and at the top you can see the heart rate sensor, which I've already binded to the app. If I select that, it'll take me to the heart rate monitor page. At the top you can see my current heart rate. Just below that you can see it's connected via Bluetooth, and the current state of charge of the internal battery is 45%. That's one reason that I uploaded the app, so I could get an accurate percentage of the battery, because I'm testing how long the battery will last, and I'll come on to that in a while. Below that you can see a switch for the heart rate zone light. Now I can turn that off if I like, and that relates to that flashing light that you can see on the front of the heart rate monitor strap. That's something that I have expressed some skepticism about the use of. However, for now I'm leaving it on because I'm testing the battery life, and I want to get the minimum battery life with that light on. I'm assuming that if I turn that light off, the battery will last even longer. Next, I can set my maximum heart rate, and that relates to the heart rate zones that you can see at the bottom of the screen. And those different colors relate to the flashing light on the front of the heart rate monitor strap. It changes color as your heart rate goes up. Below that I can turn on or off a heart rate alert. So if I don't want to go near my maximum heart rate, I can set a different level. So that's the function of the app. But as I said, most people probably don't need to change all those features. Actually loading the app is not very useful. The unit was supplied part charged, so I fully charged it. I left the heart rate indicator lights on the front of the unit on, and then wore the strap continuously. After 67 hours, the battery went flat and the unit stopped working. So that claim that it would operate for about 50 hours seems quite reasonable. However, I really wanted to know how long it would last if I turned them off. So I did turn them off using the app and repeated the test, and here are the results. As you can see, the runtime with the LEDs off is much longer. I estimate around 200 hours, probably about the same runtime as a coin cell. On getting home, I plugged it in to charge it. It took about 1.5 hours, which was what the user manual claimed. However, there was an issue with recharging it, and I'll cover that in the section on reliability. Coospo claims that the unit conforms to IP67 standard. The 6 suggests that it's completely impervious to dirt and sand, and the 7 means that it should continue to operate for at least 30 minutes when submerged to 1 meter in fresh water. I have used the unit for over 150 hours, both on and off the bike. In addition, I put it in a glass of water for a couple of hours. The device continues to work. There was that issue related to the charging of the device. I had some problems with charging from some USB plugs. I think the problem is that the impedance of the device is so high that it doesn't activate the charging circuits within some USB power supplies, and therefore it doesn't charge. I primarily found the problem with USB-C charging ports. I didn't have a problem with USB Type A. In the end, I did find an acceptable way of charging the device. It just reduces the convenience of that rechargeable system. A concern might be the reliability of the sealed-in internal battery. However, these batteries have been used for many years in mobile phones, so I wouldn't expect there to be an issue. Based on the specification, my tests, and the design of the unit, I can't see there being any problems with reliability relating to the ingress of water. How reliable the electronics are, only time will tell.
Today I'm using this Coospo heart rate monitor, and I've used it probably in total for about 200 hours. That has included cool weather, warm weather and wet weather. And so far, if you'll excuse the pun, it hasn't missed a beat.
I bought my heart rate strap through AliExpress. At the time I paid just over £24, including delivery and taxes. It was delivered in just 6 days. However, I've just taken a look on AliExpress and now the price is just over £19.
In this section of the video, I want to look at this heart rate monitor from two aspects. Firstly, that it's a rechargeable unit. Is it worth getting a rechargeable heart rate monitor? And secondly, is this particular Coospo model worth getting? Before we get on to the summary, if I could ask you to click on the thumbs up button, that will help the channel out. If you can do it now, that would be great, because I can guarantee most of you by the end of the video will have forgotten. Also, if you like unflamboyant but informative videos about cycling in mostly 5 minutes or less, I know this video is much longer than 5 minutes, then consider subscribing to my channel. So let's turn to that first question. Is it worth getting a rechargeable heart rate monitor? One could argue that the coin cell driven ones last fairly well. Also, those coin cells are cheap and readily available. So perhaps rechargeable is overkill. And I find that difficult to argue with. However, I, and probably many of you, have been caught in the situation where your coin cell has gone flat and you haven't been able to lay your hands on a replacement. So you end up riding around without a heart rate monitor. So for me, on balance, I think the rechargeable unit is just a little bit better. That's because I can periodically recharge and top up that internal battery, and therefore I'm less likely to be caught out with a flat battery. So what about this particular Coospo heart rate monitor unit that I'm testing? The upsides for me are that it was relatively cheap, it's been quite reliable, and it's comfortable to wear. So no real downsides there. Now this particular HZ9 model has more facilities than I would ever want. In particular, those little flashing lights. For me, and probably for most cyclists, they're completely useless. They just add cost to the unit and drain more power from the internal battery, which is good that I could turn that off in the app. I think if I couldn't turn that off and therefore get that longer battery life, I would have stuck with a coin cell powered unit.
So is this Coospo heart rate monitor worth buying? I think the answer for me is yes, but only by a small margin. Basically, it's the same as any other heart rate monitor, apart from that rechargeable battery. And for me, that rechargeable battery just gives it a very slight edge. I'm less likely to go out with a flat heart rate monitor battery, and therefore my heart rate monitor is more likely to work. On reflection though, for longer tours, I would probably take a coin cell based heart rate monitor. This is just so I don't have to take that charging cradle with the risk of losing it. However, I can understand for you, your circumstances may be different, and therefore you may come to a different conclusion. I hope this video was useful. If it was, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them, so leave a comment. From me until the next video, it's goodbye.